What's up, DJ Tech Tools? Ryan Dieger here. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at the S8 and answer your questions. We've gone ahead and pulled together a bunch of questions from the forums, comments from YouTube videos, and comments on live chat as well. And we're going to answer some of those questions for you today. So the software that's actually included with the S8 is Traktor Scratch Pro 2. Now, a lot of people get confused about the difference between Scratch Pro 2 and Traktor Pro 2. And really the only difference is that Scratch Pro allows you to connect turntables or CDJs to the inputs on the S8, and then allows you to use either Traktor timecode vinyl in the case of turntables, or Traktor timecode CDs in the case of CDJs. And what this allows you to do is actually use vinyl or CDs from the CDJ to control the deck playback. So if I start playing my turntable here, you can see that I've got a scratch playback from the turntable here. So since the S8 doesn't have jog wheels, if you really rely on them, then you can connect turntables or CDJs to give you a platter to work with instead of using the touch strips. Now, do you need a scratch license to actually use the Kontrol S8? You don't need a scratch license. The S8 will work perfectly fine with Traktor Pro 2. The only thing is you need at least Traktor Pro 2.7 to run the S8. If you're running an older version of Traktor and you try and use the S8, it's not going to work. You're going to need Traktor Pro at least Traktor Pro 2.7. One really cool thing about the S8 is that it can actually operate as a standalone mixer. So that means that you can actually disconnect your computer from the S8, and you can connect up to a combination of 4 CDJs or turntables and play with either real vinyl, or in the case of CDJs, you can play with CDs or USB sticks connected into your CDJs. To use the S8 as a standalone mixer, you'll just need to connect turntables or CDJs to the inputs on the back of the S8, and then you just need to turn off these highlighted Traktor buttons here. Once those are off, that means that the S8 is in standalone mode and will now play music through your turntables. When you're using standalone mode, you can basically ignore the deck sections and the screens here. The only thing that's actually going to work in standalone mode is basically the mixer section. So to demonstrate how the S8 works in standalone mode, I've got a turntable connected and I've got an actual vinyl on the turntable. All I need to do is just start playing the vinyl. I've already got it queued up. You can see that the filter still works. So I can sweep that back and forth. I got EQ control. So pretty cool. If you want to mix real vinyl, or if for whatever reason the computer freezes up and you need music real quick, you can just connect a pair of CDJs or turntables and just start running real CDs or vinyl. One thing to clarify about the S8 is that the unit itself does not actually hold any music. So that means that you cannot connect USB sticks and browse tracks from your USB sticks and load them to the S8 in standalone mode. Basically, the screens and the decks are all disabled when you're using it as a standalone mixer. The only way you can actually use the screens and browse tracks is to have the S8 connected to your laptop and to be running Traktor. You may have noticed that the S8 is missing tempo faders. So how do you actually adjust the tempo to beat match?
There are 2 ways that you can adjust the tempo. The first is with the main tempo knob that's in the center of the controller. With this, you can adjust the master tempo or whichever track you have set to be the master. The way that you can see what the current BPM is at is if you press this square button beside either display. Your display will indicate what the master clock BPM is. So if we start turning this knob, it's going to move it up in 0.01 increments up or down. If we want to move it up in larger increments, we can hold shift, and that will move up the BPM by whole values of 1 by plus or minus 1. The second way that we can adjust the tempo is with this encoder beside the display. If we start to move that, we can see again it's moving up in 0.01 increments, and again if we hold shift, it's going to move up or down in whole beats. If you're playing electronic music where the tempo never fluctuates, I'd recommend using the main master clock and the main tempo knob to adjust your BPM, and then sync all of your tracks to that main master knob, or master tempo. This way you only have to adjust the main tempo knob and all your tracks are going to stay in sync and follow along easily. If you're playing tracks where the BPM drifts, then you'll likely need to manually adjust the tempo instead of relying on sync. You can adjust the tempo of each track by disabling sync and then adjusting the BPM per deck. So if I disable sync on this deck, we can see that it now says BPM here. And I can start to adjust the value of the BPM. You can also zoom in or out on the waveform by pressing these two buttons here. If I press this button, it's going to zoom us out. If I press this button, it's going to keep zooming us in. And we can zoom in as much as we do on the software. So if you want to have a really crazy in-depth view of the waveform and try and sync with that, you can try doing that. You can also adjust the key of the track by pressing this button here. That's going to bring up our key view. It's going to indicate if the key is locked, and then it's also going to display what the key of the track is. You can also adjust this by turning the encoder on the right. As you can see, as you adjust the key, it's going to change to indicate what the new key value is.
There are a few options for how you can sort your playlists on the built-in display, which can help you find the track that you're looking for faster.
To start sorting our playlists, all we need to do is go to a playlist. And then if you start to turn the first encoder underneath the display, you're going to see this little window pop up here that says sort by. And as you turn this, it's going to sort it by different values. So in this case, it's sorting by title. We can sort by artist, BPM, key, rating, and import date as well.
At this time, it's not possible to change the color of the waveform on the built-in display. However, you can still use the shades of blue to help you indicate where your lows, mids, and highs are.
The darker shade of the waveform shows low frequencies, while the lighter shade blue shows mids, and the lightest shade, which is almost a white, indicates high frequencies. Hopefully a future update will allow you to change the color of the waveform.
With the built-in displays, it's possible to adjust the beat grid directly from the unit itself without having to actually touch your laptop.
If I want to adjust the beat grid from the S8, I can use the edit button here to toggle the beat grid edit mode. That's going to give us tools on the display that we can use to edit the beat grid. I've got a tap function here, I've got a tick function here so I can hear the metronome. I can reset, I can also lock the beat grid to prevent any further changes. I can adjust the offset, so the point where the beat grid actually starts. I can adjust the BPM here in whole values, so that'll increase it or decrease it by 1 beat. I can adjust the BPM value in fine increments here, so by 0.01. And then I can also scan through to make sure that my beat grid is actually lined up here. As you can see, the waveform's moving as I move the knob here. So the tap function on the S8 actually works really well. So if I were to just mess up this BPM here, and then just use the tap function, it pretty much gets the beat grid right back on point here. As you can see, it's really easy to fine tune the beat grid here. So even as I adjust this, the waveform's high enough resolution that you can actually do fine beat grid adjustments. And once you're finished, all you need to do is just press the edit button.
It is possible to access all 64 cells of a remix deck across the remix deck's 4 pages. Since the S8 only has 8 pads, what you actually get is 8 pads and 8 pages of cells.
So to access all of our remix deck pages, I'm going to put us into remix deck mode by pressing the deck button. And I've already got a remix deck loaded up. I'm going to scroll to the very top. I'm going to trigger some sounds. And if I want to scroll through pages, I can just use these 2 buttons here. So I'm going to scroll down. As you can see, the pads are changing colors to match with the color of the remix deck cells. And scroll down again, and I'm going to keep getting access to more cells. So this means that you don't actually have to own something like an F1 to get access to all of your remix deck cells.
Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's Q&A session with the Kontrol S8. I hope it gave you a better understanding of how the S8 works and what this controller is really capable of. If you're planning on picking up a Kontrol S8, we hope that you'll consider purchasing it from djtechtools.com. This will help support the DJ Tech Tools community and allows us to keep bringing you new content, reviews, articles, and so much more. So for more info on the S8 and everything DJ, keep an eye on djtechtools.com.